Would you tell us where you were born, when you were born, who your parents were, and what kind of background they came from?
I was born in Yazoo City, Mississippi. I grew up in Belzona, Mississippi. I was born in Yazoo City because my mom wanted to have her baby in a hospital. And at that time, there was no hospital where black women could go. My mother was a school teacher. My daddy was a farmer and a janitor.
What was your mom's name?
My mother's name was Fanny Alice Meriwether Griffin.
Fanny Alice M. Griffin. And your dad's name?
Henry Griffin.
And what did your dad do for a living?
My dad was a sharecropper and a janitor.
All right. And how about brothers and sisters?
I had a half sister and a half brother. They are both deceased. I lost my sister this year, and I'm the only child of my mother and father.
All right. And everybody was born where? In Yazoo City?
No, they were born in Belzona, and I
Okay.
was born in Yazoo. I was born in Yazoo because my mama wanted to have a baby in a hospital. The reason being is that I was almost removed for a tumor. My mother went to the hospital to have a tumor removed,
Oh, Lord.
and the doctor told her that he thought that he was sure that she would need to wait about 5 months before she did.
Oh, Lord.
And I'm the only child my mom had.
All right. You grew up in Belzona, you said.
Right.
Did you go to elementary and secondary school in Belzona?
I did. I went to McNair High School. I went to Belzona Elementary School.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did is that
What was the name of the elementary school?
Belzona Elementary School. I picked cotton to buy my clothes, and I would tell my mom how proud she must be that I picked and made my own living for that. And she said, "No, you need to be proud because everybody else took their children's money, and I let you keep yours." I would pick 300 pounds of cotton and go home early. And at that time, they were paying $3 a hundred. So when I made $10, I would go home.
All right. And you finished elementary school what year?
The truth is, I don't remember. I got up
Okay.
high
Did it go to
high school. I got out of high school in 1957.
Okay, graduated high school in 1950. That was McNair High.
Yes, that was
Who's the
McNair.
principal?
O.M. McNair.
Oh, yes. I think I met him. All right.
He was a wonderful person. He tried to get all of us to go farther
Yeah.
than high school.
Mm-hmm.
When I got out of high school, I was very pleased to have had a mom who said, "Where are you going to school?" I said, "Mom, I thought you understood."
Mm-hmm.
My dad died when I was 11th grade.
11th grade.
So my idea was that I was going to go to Chicago and work and help my mom send me to school. I told her, "Mom, I'm going to Chicago so I can save some money and go to school." My mother looked at me like I was crazy.
Oh, Lord.
She said, "Young lady, you have an application in some place within the week or I will have it in for you."
Oh, my.
And I knew that when my mom said something, she meant it.
Yes.
So I did that. The real truth is, Owens, I was trying to go to Chicago to follow a young man,
Of course.
along with 3 other young ladies who were going to Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
But I had the opportunity to go back and tell Mom so many times, "Thank you, Mom.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so very, very much
Oh, yeah.
for doing what you did."
Uh-huh. And where, in fact, did you apply?
The first school I applied to was Valley State University. Of course, it wasn't that Valley at the time.
Right.
And then the principal of the elementary school came over and asked, did I apply for a Sears Roebuck scholarship? I didn't know what a Sears Roebuck scholarship was because I wasn't trying to go. He said, "You qualified for a Sears Roebuck scholarship." I looked at your paperwork. So my mom said, "Well, we haven't applied, but we will apply." And we did, and I got it. And at that time, you could only go to 2 schools. If, with the Silver Scholarship, you could either go to Mississippi State or Alcorn. So being in
Mississippi
1957,
State.
yes.
Yeah, in
So,
57?
in 57, so you know where my scholarship went.
Alcorn.
Yes, they told me that I qualified.
Land Grant College.
Yes.
Yes.
So I went there and I was very, very pleased. I majored, you had to major in home economics at that time with the Silver Scholarship. That's what you had to do. And I never regretted that. Mrs. Dorothy Gordon Gray was my advisor all through that time.
So you entered Alcorn what year?
In 1957,
57.
September 57.
And what was it that you wanted to study?
Oh, my scholarship said I had to major in home economics. I really wanted to be a nurse.
Uh-huh.
But my mom was the only person home, so I would have had to leave at that time. Mississippi, leave Belzona to get in a good nursing program. So I ended up staying in home economics. What happened was that I told Mrs. Gray that I wanted to major in home economics. I just was getting that scholarship for the first 2 years. And she said, yeah, I understand. And she said, well, we're going to do this. And then when I was a junior, I said, Miss Gray, you know I wanted to be a nurse. She said, yeah, I know you did. I said, but now I have to almost start over to get what I need. She said, yes, that's true. She said, but I needed some good students in home economics. And that's why I didn't do what you wanted to do.
Oh, Lord. Oh, goodness.
So that went well, and I never regretted it.
You didn't regret it. Okay.
After that, I got a job. I got out of college in 3 years.
Oh, you
My
did?
roommate's brother, who was a principal in Hattiesburg, told her the importance of going to school around the year, around the clock. And so I wasn't going to let her beat me, so I went year-round too. And we both ended up getting out in 3 years. 3 years.
Okay.
After that, I went back home to Belzona to teach. And the problem with that was some of the children who were there when I graduated.
When you what?
When I left high school,
Yeah.
they were in 8th grade.
Oh.
And they still wanted to call me Mert. My nickname, well, they called me Mert at home, so.
Mert.
Yeah, Mert. My name's Alice Myrtle, so they wanted to still call me Mert, so.
Okay.
It didn't go as well as I thought it would. And then after that, Mr. Levinson in Leland needed a home economics teacher. And he came over and gave me a real good job. And I worked there for 8 years. Yes, I taught
Mr.
school.
Levinson?
Mr. Levinson hired me.
Okay.
And I taught school in Leland for 8 years.
Oh.
Then one day I was walking across the campus, and then I saw this young man waving at me, and he didn't know who I was from a distance, but it turned out it was Dr. James Anderson. They were looking for football players, and they were also looking for a nutritionist for math.
A nutritionist. Okay.
And I had enough hours in nutrition to do that. And that also was a time they were integrating the schools. And what they were going to do is that they were going to hire.
Was that 1970?
That was must have been, I'm not sure what year that was
That's
exactly.
when they did it, 70 and 71.
70, 71.
Yeah.
Okay, and what they did was that they were going to hire, at that time we had 2 home economics teachers at the black school and 1 at the white school. And they were going to hire just 2 teachers, 1 at each school. And the other home economics teacher at Lincoln High School, where I was working, she had a family there. She had bought a home there. So I said that I could find a job easier than she could. I had no family, nothing. So that was where I ended up coming to Jackson.
Okay. To where?
I left to Jackson. I left
To work
Leland.
where?
At Head Start.
Oh,
Math.
yes.
I started. Yeah, I became.
MAP?
Yes,
It's Mississippi Action for Progress.
yes. And I worked for Mississippi Action for Progress for 2
You
years.
stayed in Leyland for how many years?
I was there
Just told me.
8 years.
8 years.
Yes.
Okay. And then you went to Jackson. Okay.
And I worked for math.
As a nutritionist?
Yes.
Okay,
What happened was that
okay.
Dr. Anderson knew some people at Tuskegee, and they were working with MAP at the time.
Uh-huh.
And I went and I had some courses, and I went and took some additional courses at Tuskegee so I could bring my nutrition license up. And after that, I went to Mississippi College to take some additional courses in Jackson State in nutrition so I could be qualified to serve as that. And I enjoyed working, trying to help people improve their diets. That's what I did
That's
at
what
both of those places.
at MAP.
Right.
Okay, you
Then
went.
Then I left MAP and started working with Jackson Hands Comprehensive Health Center,
Oh, okay.
where I worked 15 years.
With Dr. Shirley?
Yes, with Dr. Aaron Shirley. And I remember one of the first days working with him when we were trying to get things straightened out for the health center. I remember walking around the governor's mansion. We were protesting.
Mm-hmm.
And we went home and came back, and they had this big fence around the governor's mansion that they didn't have. I can't figure out how they got that up that fast, but it just shows you when you really want to do something, it can be done. So they did it. When we came back, we had this fence that they had to continue.
Okay, now you have taken me too quickly through about 20 years, okay? So let's go back a pace to your years. Let's begin with the years in Leland, okay? Under
Mr. Livingston.
Under Dr. Livingston, all right? Tell me about that. What were the high points there?
Well,
And what years were they specifically, if you can remember them? Can you remember them?
61.
1961.
Must have been 61 to, I was there 8 years, so it must have been 69.
All right, 1961
61 to 60.
to 69. 69. Okay.
I got out of high school, I got out of college in 61.
No, I was wondering where, I was just trying to
Figure out where you were.
Yeah, I know where I was, but I was trying to figure out also what was going on of note, and tell us what were you aware of in those years as far as the civil rights movement was concerned?
I guess really I wasn't aware of as much as I should have been. What I remember vividly, I guess, about that time was the difference in the schools, the white schools and the black schools. I remember the equipment that they had, the kind of things that they were able to do that we were not able to provide for our children. I remember being called girl by the superintendent's wife. And I guess that was really...
The superintendent. Now, who was that?
Superintendent.
Let me see, but that is Washington, that's a Leland district.
Yes,
Yeah, who
and
was
right now I don't remember his
You remember
name.
who that was?
I don't remember his name.
Yeah,
But I know she worked on the jury store.
okay.
She worked at a jury store downtown Leland.
Was a woman.
Yes.
All right.
And
Okay.
it's bad to say, and that was the time that I really decided that I needed to get registered and I need to start voting every time.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in high school, my mom was not a registered voter. And that was very, very unfortunate because if you were a registered voter, you stood a chance of losing your job. And my mom, didn't being a single parent, she didn't want to stand a chance of losing the job. I also remember my mom and my aunts, I had aunts who were teachers as well, who would send their NAACP membership to Chicago for somebody else to pay, because if they were members and you found out about it, you would be in trouble. I remember being in college, I'll go back, and my first, and I have a cousin who's my first and second cousin.
Mhm.
Most people think we're sisters and brothers. But sometimes he wouldn't be on campus, and I
This
would be
is at Alcorn?
at Alcorn.
Mhm.
And I would be mad because he wasn't on.
Because he wasn't there?
Because he wasn't there, and I would, Dr. Washington would say that Oscar had, why you didn't go? Oscar had to go to his grandmother's funeral. I thought, don't you all have the same grandmothers? What he would do, he would say, my grandmother died. He wouldn't say, and I'd say, Oscar, why did you? He said, Mert, I said grandmother died. I didn't say when she died. Grandmother was, that grandmother he was talking about was dead before we were born.
Oh, my Lord.
But I learned when they opened the books,
Mhm.
where they kept up with what people were doing.
Mhm.
He would be at NACP meetings, and they kept records. I read the book, and Oscar Griffin would be at the meetings.
That's your first cousin?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
and they would show what car, they would name what car he was driving, and that kind of thing. And I told myself, I'm proud of you. You should have told me where you were.
Mhm.
I can go back and tell you, I know I'm retrogressing, but I'll tell you that.
He was at Alcorn at the same time you
Yes,
were there?
we were classmates.
Oh,
We
okay.
were classmates. My uncles, they were really my first cousins. I thought they were my uncles because my dad's parents died when he was young, and he was reared by this uncle who were their parents.
Mhm.
But one of them, Paul Griffin, who looked like a Caucasian,
Mhm.
was, and some of my other relatives do, and you know why they look like Caucasians. He was busy working with George Lee, Reverend George Lee,
Reverend George, yeah.
getting people registered to vote
In Belzoni?
in Belzoni.
Mhm.
And when it came time for him to borrow money
Mhm.
for his crop, he was told by the banker, get some of those
Mhm.
that you got registered to loan you the money.
Mm.
And as a result of that, he almost lost his farm. He had a nervous breakdown. He had to go to Whitfield for a while.
Oh, Lord.
But what happened, they were able to save the farm because my mom
Mhm.
took those few little pennies that she'd been saving here and there and was able to loan him enough money
Mm.
to run the farm for that year.
Mm.
But it really did him in mentally that they would do that kind of thing. He ended up moving the next year,
Yeah.
going to Phoenix, Arizona, where the other part of the family
The
lived for the
family.
rest of the year. They
Oh,
ended up,
my goodness.
the children ended up in Phoenix, Arizona.
Phoenix.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Now, tell me, when exactly did you register? Do you remember what year it was?
I hate to tell you,
It's all right, don't worry
but
about it.
I think it
Yes?
was 62.
62. Okay. Where were you then?
In
62?
Leland.
Oh, you were in Leland?
I was in
Oh,
Leland.
okay. All
I
right.
was in Leland. That's what
Okay.
it was. That was
Well,
what
but
it was.
there was a lot of
But
people
then,
that weren't
once I
then.
registered, I didn't ever miss. And the other thing I can say is that once my mom
Mhm.
registered, she never missed voting.
Mhm.
She could be in Jackson with me. She would say, we need to go home so I can get my absentee ballot.
Mhm.
Or you need to just go up there the day we register.
They didn't give you any problem when you went up to register in 62?
No,
They did?
no, they didn't.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know when my mom and my aunt registered, but I do know they had to read
Mhm.
for them.
Yeah.
They were both teachers, but they had to read to these people who were 4th or 5th grade.
Yeah.
And I also know
You had to come to Greenville to register?
Belzoni.
Oh, Belzoni. Oh, that was your home?
Yeah, Belzoni's my home. That's where
Oh,
I
okay.
yeah.
So you
That's-
had to go to the circuit
Right.
clerk in
Right.
Humphreys County?
Right. That's correct.
Oh, okay. I registered in Belzoni. And you didn't get any flack. That's good. Registered in, they were giving people flack in Washington County. All right, that's even in Belzoni.
But I think we had some. Now I can't remember. I was trying to remember what year that was. That Reverend Lee was killed, but I
It was
don't.
57 or 58 was in there somewhere.
Yeah, it was when I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Yeah.
must have been
56?
I'm thinking must have been because I remember that
Could
they
be.
had
I could be wrong.
they had the funeral out on the yard of the Green Grove,
Mm.
which at that time was the largest Baptist church, Black Baptist church, and people were
Oh.
you couldn't get close to that.
Were you brought up as a Baptist?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
I am.
And
I,
you
I
went-
was and I still am.
Say it again?
I was and I am.
You was and you still are.
Yes.
That's okay. Ain't nothing wrong with that. All right. Now, let's see. What else do you remember from the Leland days? Okay, the March on Washington was going on. You were aware of that when that happened?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes, I was aware.
Okay,
I
that's
was
good.
aware- I was
No.
aware of that.
And you stayed there up, let's see, you remember the summer of '64? Do you remember when Medgar got killed?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Tell me, what were you up to?
Not much, like I was not doing any of the things I should have been doing. I was just sort of one of those people who saying was so sorry that it happened and
Mhm.
not knowing what to do, how
Well, I
to really
didn't
get
know
started.
what to do. Sure.
So
You weren't alone there.
I really just, I didn't know at that time that there were things I could have been doing.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess I'm like some of those, I did nothing.
Yeah.
Not really.
They didn't give you school teachers a tough time for registering to vote when you registered?
Not,
You registered kind of early.
not at that
Because the
time.
Voting Rights Act didn't pass till '65.
Yeah, not
So
at that
you,
time.
they
Not
didn't
that
at that time.
No.
But that's good. That's good. All right, what else?
That's
Do you remember
about, that's
from that
about all I
period?
remember about Leland.
Remember the Jackson?
And when I really got interested and involved in politics
Mm-hmm.
was when I met a young man from Mobile, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And that young man was one of the individuals who marched with King
Mm-hmm.
a couple of times.
Sure.
And his parents were really, really into politics.
All right.
And he sort of got me, well, he didn't sort
What
of,
year
he
was
got
that?
me.
Tell me when that was.
What year did that must have been 69.
60, well, King came in '66 because I marched with him in the Meredith March.
Yeah.
Were you aware of that when that went on?
I was aware of it, but I didn't.
Did you know Reverend King had come? Martin Luther?
Yes,
You knew he came?
yes.
All right. Okay.
But I just knew it, I knew
fine.
it came, but I didn't,
All
I
right,
wasn't
it's okay.
out there.
It's okay. So in '69, all right, tell me again, the man from Mobile?
That man named, his name is Lee William Clarke, L.W. Clarke Jr.
Uh-huh. Okay, and tell me what were the circumstances around your becoming aware of him, L.W. Clarke,
He was an insurance agent
from Mobile?
from Mobile, and he was, at that time, he came to Mississippi to sell insurance to black teachers.
All right.
And before then, he was with the American Professional Professional Insurance Company out of Mobile, Alabama.
Okay.
And as a result of that, he had a lot of problems because the other company thought he was taking their business, and which he did. He took a lot of business.
Mm-hmm.
And in the process, he would always say, how many white teachers do I have? I didn't take any white teachers. If I remember, they were all black, but if I got some of you, please let me know so I can put them in my book. But, and his lawyer was from Greenville, Sonny Mary.
Sonny Mary, doing quite well.
Sonny was the lawyer for his insurance agent.
Oh, okay.
And,
Haven't heard that word in a long time. That name,
what that,
Sonny Mary.
well,
He went to the legislature.
he did.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he did. And that was why I got along real well with him. A lot of people didn't. They didn't understand why. Was because Sonny and my husband were good friends because
Oh.
he had been his lawyer for quite some time.
Uh,
Sonny would tell him and there were times when they would be waiting on him at different places,
Mm-hmm.
the folks.
Mm.
And Sonny would tell him, don't go to wherever it was that they would
Right.
be waiting. And it was really amazing to me that he would do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I really did appreciate later on the way people felt about him. I said, they don't know the Sonny that I know.
Mm-hmm.
Because the Sonny that I knew was not the one that most people didn't like.
Right. I can understand that.
Some years ago, many years ago,
Mm-hmm.
I was much lighter than I am.
Mm-hmm.
And there have been times that we were riding together,
Mm-hmm.
and people would have thought that I was a white girl that he had in the car.
Right.
And he would be stopped by the
And I knew his father. I had
Sonny's
his father.
father.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
When I was in grade.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Now, let's see, what else was there? I was going to ask you, do you remember when we took over the airbase?
Yes,
You do remember that?
Yes.
The airbase did it?
yes.
When they carried us out bodily? Huh? Do
I
you remember that?
remember, I heard about it.
You heard about it?
Look, I heard about it.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I heard about it.
Okay. Now, what about the summer of '64, the Freedom Summer? What do you remember about that?
I don't remember that very well.
Okay.
All I remember was a hot summer.
Do you remember, that's what I'm talking about now. I'm talking about '64 when all these students came to Mississippi. I'm talking about the '64 when Mrs. Hamer and the Freedom Democrats went to Atlantic City. Do you remember that?
I remember that.
Okay. You remember hearing her on television? And all
Yes, I remember being very proud of her.
that? Mm-hmm.
Very, very proud of
I
her.
think we all were.
Having, you know, I'm being from Belzone and she's from
Sunflower.
right across the road.
Mm-hmm.
So it made us feel really, really good to know that somebody
Yeah.
from Mississippi,
Stood up.
yes, and that's exactly what she did.
She sure did.
She stood up
Did
for
you
all
know
of
I
us.
buried her?
Pardon?
Did you know I buried her?
No,
Oh, yeah.
no,
Oh, yeah.
no, I didn't.
Family asked me to bury her. I buried her. You know who did the funeral?
No,
Huh?
I don't
It was that
remember.
young man who went to Congress, his brother.
Which one?
The first black congressman since Reconstruction.
Okay.
Yes,
Yes.
Henry. I told Henry to bury Mrs. Hamer. She only had $50. And I told him to bury her. And I would give him the money.
And he did.
I raised $2,500 for that funeral and paid it. Yeah, but Henry was in charge of the Century Funeral Homes at that
Mhm.
time.
Yeah.
And he was also trying to be on the Clarksdale City Council. And
All right.
naturally, he later became the mayor.
Right.
You know that story.
Right,
Then you know the story of his son
Yes.
this past year.
yes.
Okay, better left unsaid.
All right.
Yeah.
Good thought.
All right, yeah, it's no problem. Okay, where are we now? So you can recall to memory all of those important, most of the important things you don't have any problem remembering. Do you remember, well, let's fast forward a little bit. You remember when the first, in '67, when Robert Clarke got elected
Yes.
to the legislature, first black? And we, did you know at that time we elected 32 black people to public office, the first one since Reconstruction? You were aware of that?
32?
Mm-hmm. Or around the state now, is it statewide?
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
yes.
Kermit Stanton.
And I know
Where were you in
Robert Clarke very
67?
well.
Where were you in '67?
In
Where-
Jackson.
Where?
67, I must have been still in Greenville. Because
Were you in Leland? Were you still teaching
Yes,
in Leland?
yes,
In
yes.
'67?
Yes, I had to, because I left in 69.
Oh, okay,
I had to
good.
go back.
All right, so
But
you-
Robert Clarke was one of my teachers.
Mhm. Oh, he was?
He was a co-chairman.
Oh, yeah.
He was in and out of Humphreys County.
Mhm.
And he was in and out of my mom's house. My mom would have teachers living with her,
Mhm.
and plus my mom was a good cook. So moms used to,
Makes a difference.
used to tease them, saying, "Look, are you coming by to see the ladies, or are you coming to eat? Which
Eat.
one?" And Robert's first wife and I were classmates.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. I interviewed Robert. I did 2 sessions with him. Pardon me, but I can't get him back to finish for some reason. but I haven't given it a try. Well, nevertheless, 67 was an important year insofar as the first 32 black people were elected to public office since Reconstruction here in Mississippi. So that was an important time. And then you remembered when the next four got elected from Jackson to the state legislature. Do you remember that?
I'm trying to remember who they were.
Okay, good. Remember?
Fred.
Fred Banks. Doug Anderson. I interviewed Doug.
Who was he? Who were they from? Was Greedale with that group?
Calhoun? No.
I'm trying to remember who was before that. Right now, I'm not remembering.
Okay, the preacher.
Buckley. Horace
Okay.
Buckley.
Horace Buckley.
And
Now, to tell you the honest truth, I forget who the fourth one is. I was hoping you would remember. Fred Banks.
Fred,
Banks,
Franchise.
Buckley, Doug.
Was it Hillman?
No,
When did Hillman get elected?
no, later. Hillman came along later. Doug.
I'm sorry, I can't recall.
And I'm sorry I
at
can't
the
either,
moment.
so don't feel bad. I can't remember. It'll come to me, but I can't remember. Right now, I can't remember. All right, but you do remember the time,
Yes,
or when that happened?
yes.
Okay, good. All right. Now, your entrance into the active political arena occurred when?
1985.
Okay, 1985.
March 1985.
And you decided to run for public office.
I
What made you
re-
decide to run
I
for
really
public
didn't
office?
decide to run for public office.
You did?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
At that time, the city of Jackson had 3 councilmen. Everybody was elected at large.
Okay.
And Kirksey, Dr. Anderson, and some others said, we got to stop this. We can't let this continue to happen.
Mhm.
And we had, a committee was appointed, elected,
Yeah.
citywide. And it happened that I was vice chair of one of the committees.
Mhm.
And I had to make reports as to what progress we were making.
What was the job of the committee?
The committee was to decide how we would elect our representatives.
Okay.
Whether we would have a councilman or how many we would have.
Because you had a mayor, commissioner, form of
Right,
clerk. That's
right.
what you had.
Right,
All right, and then you went to court,
right.
okay, for a ward system of elections.
Yes, you remember very well.
Of course I remember that.
And we were working on the wards and dividing up how we would
Sure, we
decide
went
to
through the
divide
same
the
thing
city
in
and
the
that kind of thing.
Mhm.
And as a result of that, I had to make some reports, and people thought I was running for something. I said, no, I'm not running for anything.
Mhm.
And then there were, reports kept coming in, was looking good.
Mhm.
And I went to the bank one day, Mr. Brooks,
Mhm.
with Dr. Anderson and Nancy Stewart.
And
Nancy Stewart.
okay, I don't know who is that?
Nancy she was Dr. Shirley's administrative assistant at that time.
Okay.
And I was running my mouth with some people in the bank, and the teller asked me, Miss Clarke, would you come over here a minute, please, and sign this? And I went over, and she put a paper out, and she said, stand right here, please. I said, I don't sign anything, I don't know what it is.
Mhm.
I looked down, and it said, Alice Clarke Campaign Fund.
It's called campaign fund.
Alice Clarke Campaign Fund. I said, are you all crazy?
Mhm.
They said, no, but you're going to be if you don't sign this.
Mhm.
Anyway, they had opened an account. Somewhere they got $100.
Mhm.
And we started that now. At that time, what they were asking me to do was to run for city council.
Run for city
For
council.
city council.
Oh, good.
Then, see, that's what we were working on, city council at that time.
Okay.
And I discussed it with my husband.
Mhm.
And he said, well, I think you're probably a good idea, but he said, let me discuss it with some of these boys on the corner.
Mhm.
My husband knew folks on the corner, and number of different places.
Sure.
So anyway, he asked them if I ran, would they support me?
Mhm.
And he came back smiling. I said, what's wrong with you? He said, the boys want you to run.
The boys want you to
The
run.
boys want you to run. Anyway, we decided we'll do that. But before we did that, I told them that I had to call somebody. We had a meeting at my house, a big group at my house, and I called this lady, and I asked her, what did she think about me running for public office? And my mama thought about that long, and she said, haven't I always told you, you don't know what you can do unless you try? Because that's what I asked her. I said, Mama, do you think I can do that? She said, haven't I always told you, you don't know what you can do unless you try? And baby, you haven't tried that. I was so embarrassed. Owens, I said, thank you.
Why were you with that?
And I went back to the group and said, I guess we're running.
Good.
And it started from that. And I went to a church
Yeah.
and asked them to vote for me if they would support
you.
me for city council. For city council.
City council.
And I got back to my house. At that time, I had not signed the paper to run for that, but I just was telling people to do that. When I got back, they told me the person who was Nita Hall said was my campaign manager. She said, we're no longer running for city council. I'm crazy now. I said, pardon? We are no longer running for city council, and we have already voted on it, and everybody voted, and everybody agreed but one person, and he doesn't count.
And he doesn't count.
And of course, that was my husband.
Oh, my Lord.
And why he said that, he said, now I'm going around asking people to vote for you for city council, now you're going to change. What had happened was that Fred Banks had been appointed judge.
Oh.
And Fred was our representative, and they said there's never been a black woman in the legislature, and we think it's time to do that.
That's good.
So that was how it happened. It was not my idea. It was my committee's idea. It was not my idea in the first place.
Okay.
So that's how we got started.
All right, and you replaced Fred
Right.
In the legislature.
Yes, in March of 1985.
March, okay.
And
Did anybody else go to the legislature that same time as you, any other black?
No, when I see that was a special election.
Oh, it was a special
Yeah,
election?
9 people ran.
Oh,
Six
for that one spot?
For that one spot.
Oh, my Lord.
Six men and 3 ladies. And I ended up being in a runoff with a fellow who was working at Jackson State University. And then, of course,
Do you remember who that was?
Solly Norwood.
Solly Norwood?
Solly
I
Norwood.
remember Solly. I don't remember how I know him, but I remember Solly.
He works for the state now.
Oh,
He left
okay.
Jackson State and started working with the state.
Okay.
But it was it was an interesting campaign because we had these 6 men and these 3 ladies, and I had never done anything like that.
That's
but
good.
once you start doing that, it sort of you get into it and you get interested,
Yeah.
and you say, I really might be able to help somebody
Sure.
if I get there. So that's.
Now, what about the redistricting now? The city, when they threw out this, well, the change in the system of election in the cities from a mayor commissioner form to the council form, which resulted in the redistricting of Jackson into, 7 wards?
Right.
Yeah. What about that? Were you involved in that?
Yes, that's what I was doing. That's how I got started. We
Okay.
were in the process of changing that to the districts.
All right.
And I had been privileged to be a part of that committee that was working on that. That's how the whole thing got started.
All right.
And I guess that was when I really got interested in doing something. But I had not planned to run for anything. I was just trying to make sure that we didn't do it the way we had been doing it for all those other years. And that we had representation. Because as you know, we had no representation because at that time,
Right.
we couldn't elect anybody.
Right, absolutely. It was at large election.
Right.
Now tell me, let's see now, you, what were you doing for work during that time?
I was the Director of Nutrition Services for Jackson Heights Comprehensive Health Center.
Oh, you were working at Jackson Heights,
Yeah.
okay.
And I was trying to do right when I got to the legislature. So I asked for an ethics opinion as to whether I could work for Jackson Heights Health Center.
Uh-huh,
And
and,
they said it would be a conflict of interest for me to keep my job.
oh,
So I lost my job, and I've never figured out yet how lawyers can do, they can work for the city and the county
Yeah.
and the state, but I couldn't do that.
well, look at the guy in Greenwood. He has been years on the Greenwood City Council, right, and been a senator in the legislature.
Right.
What is his name?
Jordan.
Jordan, David Jordan, right, and a
Yes.
school teacher.
Right,
That's all at the same time.
right.
Yeah,
But I guess I shouldn't have asked for an opinion,
right.
but it was too late. I didn't want them to come up and say that it was a conflict of interest and I had
Mhm.
spent the money and you'd have to come up with it.
Yeah,
So I was trying to do what I thought was right.
right.
But as it turned out, I don't think it was.
It was.
Since then, we have 2 pharmacists
Uh-huh.
who are legislators,
Okay.
and they sued the state to keep their
To
job.
keep their job,
Yes.
as pharmacists.
Yes,
Yeah.
because it was the same thing. What they were saying is that the state provides funds for Medicare, for Medicaid,
Uh-huh.
and they couldn't do that. These would be Medicaid patients, they'll be seeing as well. But I can't find anybody who will sue for me, because what I'd like to do
Uh-huh.
would to go back and get the money that I've missed from for the last 20 years,
Oh, boy.
and that would really be
Yes.
nice. But unfortunately,
You probably won't ever get that.
no, I won't ever get it. I've now let my nutrition license have expired.
It has?
Yes, unfortunately. When my mom was sick, I kept my mom. My mom left me when she was 99.7, and her man
Wow.
was much better than ours.
She was 99? She was 99 years old?
No, I'm sorry, 98.
98?
98.7,
Wow.
almost 99.
Uh-huh. My mother's 104 when you died.
She was what?
104?
104.
Uh-huh.
Good.
Yeah. Oh,
I was
West Indian
hoping,
lady.
I was hoping Mom would have made 100, but that wasn't the Almighty's.
Well,
That wasn't His plan.
it's God's plan, not ours.
Right.
Right?
That's true.
So we have to go take what we can get. Okay. Let's see now. You have been there for, let me see.
A few years.
What'd you say?
A few years.
How many years you in the legislature?
A few. Just a few.
Ain't no number.
21.
Why are you ashamed of it?
No, I just
Say.
a few. Just a few.
Shame of you.
Just a few.
That's a golden crown. It's amazing that you've been able to put up with what you have had to put up with in that legislature for so long.
Well, that's true.
Yes, Lord.
But then I guess every year you go back and think maybe you'll be able to do something. You quite often, you come up with ideas.
Yes.
You can't get them passed. One of them come up with it. One of them take your same idea
Yeah.
and they pass it. But if it gets passed and it helps somebody, forget who did it.
Yeah. Now listen, I'm going to put it to you, because this bothers me, and I ask everybody. Okay. Back in the 80s, when I was the director of the Delta Ministry, we advocated doing away with the tax on food here in the state of Mississippi. You know what I'm saying. And this past year, there were 2 bills in the legislature.
Whose were they?
Listen now, there were 2 bills in the legislature. One to do away, well, one provision was to do away completely with the tax on food, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one was to increase, and the other provision was to increase the tax on tobacco,
Right.
right?
Right.
And of course, the governor vetoed both of those bills.
All right.
And some of your two of your co-workers, right, who I don't mind saying who they are, black, voted with the governor's veto to sustain the governor's veto. Please tell me, because I know that's wrong. I talked to the Lord about that, so I know that that was wrong. Why? Horn and Simmons. Simmons I know very well because he's from the Delta. Okay? Know him when he went. I know him when he worked in Washington. He, I would admit, maybe I'm talking too much on your tape, but I do believe that I wasn't as surprised at Willie Simmons because he has voted, right, wrong on a number of things prior to that latest debacle. All right? Horn purports to be, and I know his daddy well, because I worked in Eske's office with him. He thinks he's a liberal, or he passes for a liberal, for a forward-thinking black legislator. Could I get your take on this subject for the benefit of this interview?
I'm not really sure why they did that, and we've asked why they did that. I think at that time, both of them thought it would be in their best interest to do that. And it's unfortunate that sometimes those kind of votes.
Could I say one thing? In their best interest or their constituents' best interest? They didn't get there by themselves.
It's very, very true. But sometimes it appears that we somehow forget how we got there.
I have a lot of respect for you, Big God. No, I do. Hold on now. Now, I have a lot of respect. Is this still going?
You have a lot of respect, but sensitivity.
But you give me a better answer than that.
The best I can say is that I don't know why they did that.
You don't.
No,
You truthfully don't.
I really don't know.
Okay. Now, I have heard that Horn gets tobacco money. Are you aware of that?
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. I
He
don't.
gets support from tobacco interests.
Pardon?
He gets support from the tobacco interests, both of them.
I don't.
They're desk mates. They sit side by side, to my knowledge. Isn't that true?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
You can't serve two gods, Mr. Clarke.
We're on the same side.
I know we are. That's why I'm saying it to you. If I had John Horn, if I had him at the table, I would say the same thing. And maybe I intend to get him, seeing as how he thinks, right, that he's a liberal and a supporter of civil rights. He thinks he is. He tries to sell himself as such. And he thinks also that he's a historian.
Yeah.
Huh?
That's true.
I
both
take exception to that.
Both of those. But I think
And
both-
none of us are perfect.
True. Very true.
Pardon me. But as I said, you do, when you're sitting in that seat, you do what's good for the greater good.
Yeah, I always try to take a vote in the best interest of my constituents.
Yes, ma'am.
Quite often, it might not be what I want, but if it's something that would help them,
Yes, ma'am.
that's how I figure. I always do that. I don't think there's ever been a vote I've taken
My Lord.
that was not like that.
Well, you didn't mind me asking, I hope. I had to ask you.
Oh,
I had to ask you. And how did you know about the rest of your cohorts there in the legislature, how they felt about that, the black ones?
concerned. We were concerned about.
Did any of them take them to task for that? Nobody took issue with them for doing that?
It was disgust, but I wouldn't say that they actually took them to task.
They did it twice. Bad. Once is bad enough. But they had the gall to do it twice. Because the second bill came up and they did it again. Oh well, they don't answer to me. That's true. No, they don't answer to me. They answer to somebody, even if they have to wait on the Lord. Huh? They will answer.
True.
Oh my. Well, anyhow, thank you very much, Ms. Clarke. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Oh,
Yes, I did.
Yes, you did. Yeah, you're right.
Yes, I did.
Yes,
I
you
take
did.
that back.
That's the only reason you would have done it.
Yes,
That's
of
the only
course.
reason.
But I appreciate your response. I appreciate it. But you know, I've been disturbed about this. And I've asked my friends, some of them know Horn particularly. And he's not giving them a good response as to why. So he owes the governor something. Got to.
I don't know. I don't know.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know.
We'll leave that.
Yes, please do.
Ms. Clarke. Okay, now let's see. We were, you've been in the legislature 21 years. Okay. All in all, you've enjoyed those 21 years?
I've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed it.
Expand on that a little bit.
Let me tell you, when I went to the legislature, I knew very little about how the system worked.
Mm-hmm.
I went there thinking I was going to make a world of difference. I didn't know that I was going to go there and I was going to do my research, I was going to introduce my bills, and I was going to get them passed. But I didn't know that I had to work with all these other people to try to get them to understand how important the bills were. I didn't know that there would be so many people who would not understand that people in my neighborhood need something just like you need something in your neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I did, when I first got there, I was just leaving Jackson Hines Comprehensive Health Center.
Mm-hmm.
And being there, I worked with pregnant women and infants and children. I saw a lot of girls who were pregnant. And I was going to go there, and I was going to make those boys' parents equally as responsible, because the girls' parents were having to pay for pregnancies, and we were having all these children out of wedlock. So I thought I was going to solve that problem. The other thing was that at that same time, in the same group of people, I saw a lot of women who were on drugs, and I was trying to get them in treatment, and I couldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
They wouldn't take them because they were pregnant. So we were able to, not through the legislature, but indirectly get something done. We started a program called Born Free that will take pregnant women.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps a lot of people. But it takes a lot of doing to get other people sometimes to understand what's needed in your neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
But
Cynthia,
overall,
light is not on. Mm-hmm.
overall, I've enjoyed being in the legislature.
You have.
I haven't done half of the things that I wanted to do. I did the tax. I tried to get the tax off of the food. That was one of my bills that I've done.
I pressed it.
But we just have to keep trying to get something done.
It's on now.
But yeah, if I were to ask the question, yes, I haven't done all the things I wanted to do, but I've enjoyed being there. I especially was glad when we blacks finally were able to get our numbers on Ways and Means. Right now, basically, we control Ways and Means. I don't know what it's going to be like the next time.
Now who's the chairperson of that? The guy from the coast, the guy from down south?
Hattiesburg.
Hattiesburg.
Percy Watson.
Percy Watson,
Okay.
yeah. He's the chairman.
He's chairman.
Okay, that's a very powerful committee.
It is. And we've had vice chairs, and it seemed like one time that was the only thing we could be vice chair was Ways and Means. And then sometimes they would have had the meeting before the meeting, and you were vice chair. I was vice chair, I know. Sometimes I'd come in, they would have already had the
They already had
They
it.
would have already had the meeting.
That's
before we
right.
got here. But then now,
Yeah.
with the numbers we have on Ways and Means,
Mhm.
we can determine how it goes.
That's good.
And we've been doing it quite
Well,
well.
what about compulsory education? What is your disappointment or pleasure or, well, let's take education as a subject for you in the legislature. Because it has been said down through the years, right, that Mississippi has not been and continues not to be serious about a quality educational system for this state. Respond to that for me, please.
Well, I think to a degree, I think they're right, because when we came up with the idea of no child left behind,
Mhm.
we've been leaving our children behind because
For a long
we have not
time.
been, yes, we've not been putting the funds where we need them.
Mhm.
And then somehow we've not gotten our teachers and apparently our superintendents to
Mhm.
really understand that our children can learn.
Right.
Our parents need to know, but that's how we get our children to understand they can learn. And that's, our education system has failed us, therefore causing so many of our children, in my opinion, to
Mhm.
end up in prison.
Exactly.
When a child can't read well
Mhm.
and nobody helps him,
Yeah.
nobody recognizes early enough that they can't read, they end up doing all kind of things in class, and they end up getting put out of class, and they end up out in the street, and they
Yeah.
end up in prison.
And
I s-
unemployed.
Yes,
Mhm.
I saw something, I'm trying to write it down now. It's a school called Everybody Must Believe.
Mhm.
Everybody must believe that a child can read. And somebody told me they think it's in Montana, but I don't know. I'm going to try to find out. But if the parents believe, the principal and the teachers believe. See, we have teachers who believe our children can't learn.
You know.
That has been
We have
a
teachers
lot.
that don't like children.
Well, that's true.
That is true.
That's true. And that is, no, Mark told me, my son,
Mhm.
when he was in preschool, Mama, Miss Hartman doesn't like black children.
Mhm.
I saw Mark, you know,
Mhm.
Mark, Mama, Miss Hartman doesn't like black children.
Mhm.
And we do still have some teachers who don't like certain children.
Absolutely.
So we have to try and see how we can work around that. And we as parents have to go to PTA meetings, that we don't.
Yeah, we don't.
We don't.
We don't.
Because I know my child, you said, Mom, do you have to go? Yes, I do. You know the child I am. So I have to.
You've got to
Mom,
be there.
Mama, you gonna be the only parent there. I said, well, yours gonna be there. That's all part of our educational system. We're gonna have to educate our teachers and our parents. Therefore, we can educate our
What
children.
about the legislature? Is it yet serious about education?
Some of us are.
Some.
And I think this year, we are going to have somebody who's really out, the chairman of the Legislative Black Caucus, Reese Dixon,
Oh, I know Reese.
is really going to try to help us to help our children.
Reese from Knoxville, isn't she?
Yes.
Yeah.
Reese was a superintendent.
Mhm.
Yeah, and she's going to be good for the state and for our children.
Have mercy.
If we can get the chairman to let some of those bills that she.
Do you
that we're
think
working on
that district consolidation will ever happen in this state? Will you live to see it, do you think?
I doubt it. I doubt it. I doubt it very, very seriously.
And we continue to throw money down the rat hole without that,
Yes,
because some of these small little districts cannot cut it
true.
and need to be consolidated with others.
And we've been trying to do that for years.
Sure, but Mavis was the last one that you know, in the educational, in the education bill.
Right, right. We'll
They don't even address it. They don't even talk about it. They don't talk about, pardon me, man, they don't talk about compulsory education enforceable in this state.
they don't want our children in school.
Who is they?
When it's the legislature,
Okay.
if we can get our children in school, we could teach our children, then our children could get some of those good jobs that they have.
Sure.
You're right, it's not a concerted effort. But now that there are,
I've been here 41 years.
now that there are a large
Look-
number of us, I think we're gonna be trying harder this year than we ever tried.
There's the Lord.
And we'll have to keep trying, and that's what we're gonna do.
All right, what other burning issues are you worked up about as far as the legislature is concerned? And the state, as far as the state's concerned? We've talked about education.
Well,
Pretty well.
it goes sort of back to education. I don't know if you know it or not. My belief is that our major problem in this city and this state is drugs,
Drugs.
illegal drugs. And until we are really serious about treating people who have drug problems, we're going to have a problem. Now,
They rather just lock them up and forget about it.
yes, and build more jails.
Sure.
They want to build more jails. Their buddies can build more jails.
Mhm.
And what I've been doing for the last several years is trying to get them to understand that we got to do some prevention and we got to do some treatment.
Mhm.
And if we do that, we'll save so many families. We'll save families that way. We not only save that individual, we save the family, the community, and everybody if we do that. But I don't know if you know that, I'm real proud. There's a bill named Alice Clarke.
No, I didn't know that.
It's the drug court bill. It's named the Alice Griffin Drug Court Bill. And that's because I tried for about 6 years before I could get it passed. First, I couldn't get it out of committee. Then I couldn't get it out of subcommittee. Couldn't get it out of subcommittee. Then I couldn't get it out of committee. Then I couldn't get it out of the House. Then I finally got it out of the House. Then had the same problem in the Senate. I think it was year after year after year, and it finally got out. And then when it finally got out, and we're doing
It's a drug bill.
yes, drug court.
Oh, drug court. Okay.
Drug court, and it's working real well now. We have most every community have a drug court, and that's where you send those people to treatment and send to prison.
Drugs is big business. You realize that.
Yes.
We don't profit.
No.
They profit.
Yes.
Yeah.
We get the crumbs
Right. And get sent to jail. in the
and get
process.
killed.
Right. Absolutely.
Most of the homicides we have here in Jackson are drug related.
Drug related.
So that's been my major thing, as has been recently.
All right. Okay. That's interesting. I didn't know about the Alice Clarke bill.
And I just got back from a National Drug Court Conference in Seattle, and we did not have anybody on the board, and a judge from Texas nominated somebody from Mississippi by the name of Alice Clarke, and she was elected. So I'm now National Drug Court Board.
You're on the national board.
Yeah, so that should help
Oh, it's wonderful.
us with some of the
Oh, well,
things.
congratulations. Say a little bit more about that. The board, the national board, because I didn't know there was one that existed.
Yeah, what they do is that they determine the funds that various states will get for the drug court programs, and they try to come up with additional ways of making sure that people are aware of the devastation of drugs. That's just the kind of things, and then they try and get individuals in each neighborhood to work to prevent drugs. It's just sort of a kind of a board that works to do some kind of preventive measures. We
Okay.
fund and prevent.
All right. Now, the other thing I've heard about you is that you are an advocate for a civil rights museum for Mississippi located here in Jackson.
I'm so glad you asked me about that.
Well, you know I have to ask you.
Because
I'm here at
somebody
Smith
I was going
Office.
to ask you where. Right now we're looking at trying to figure out where would be the best place to put it,
Yes?
and what all should we include in it. And next month we're going to Tennessee. Have you gone to the Civil Rights building in Tennessee?
In Memphis? I've gone to that one, I've been to Memphis.
I
Is
understand
that the
that.
one you're talking about?
There's one at, what is it, one in Memphis, there's one in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there are two in Chicago. Two in
DuSable is in Chicago, that's a black museum.
Yeah,
Is that the one you're talking about?
yes,
Okay, sure, I've been to those schools.
yes, and,
Pardon me.
right now, what we're just trying to do, I'm all excited about it when I was excited when we were able to get the bill passed.
Okay,
And-
explain that to me.
Well,
A bill that has been passed, what does it say?
it says that the state will fund a civil rights
Museum?
museum
Mhm.
in Mississippi. And right now, we have to try to figure out where we want the museum to be. And of course, I want it to be in Jackson with all of the other things that we have for the state.
Mhm.
And then we'll have to come up with what it is, what all will it include, what art, what kinds of things that we'll be able to put in there, and who will be able to put them, and then how, of course, then after that, how we would run it. Something that really has shocked me is that John Reeves, all of a sudden, is really interested in civil rights.
Oh, he is?
Yes, I think it might be because his district is a little darker than it was.
Where is his district?
South Jackson.
I don't know where he's.
South Jackson, he's in South Jackson.
Oh, in South
Off
Jackson.
Raymond, off of Raymond Road,
Raymond
down,
Road?
down that way.
Oh, okay.
And then I know there was been so many times that we couldn't get him to do anything that would help black
Is
folks.
he Republican?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
but now he's all excited about working with us and doing this. I think it might be something just want to be able to show his constituents when election time comes, since most of them will start looking like you.
Mm. Mm.
But so far.
So that's self-interest is his,
It
is
was.
his reason for being interested.
Well,
Well, you know
appears
who's
to me to be.
interested. There are a number of people that are interested in a civil rights, an authentic civil rights museum here in Jackson. Jackson State is interested, all right, in developing their corridor over there on Lynch Street. The president is interested in this and has enlisted our veterans organization to cooperate. And this you need to know, because you need to know where other areas of interest lie, all right? We've been working with him over a period of time in a number of things that he wants to achieve in civil rights while he's there as president. One is a museum, an archive, right, for oral history data. And the old COFO building is down there on Lynch Street, and he wants to turn that into some kind of
where's the Crawford building?
on Lynch Street. Right down, you know where do you know where the burial, the little cemetery is
Yes,
here?
yes.
Down from that cemetery. It's been preserved and it's owned by Jackson State. Yeah. The other interest is Smith Robinson, of course, and they are not a freestanding museum. They're under the city of Jackson. I'm here on contract with the city of Jackson to do the oral history program, okay? And I've been on contract with the city. Reuben Anderson is interested in raising money to liberate Smith Robinson as a freestanding institution here in Jackson, which I think it ought to be. I think it ought to be a freestanding institution. It houses a lot of the memorabilia
It does.
of black people, okay? It has a history in Jackson as being the first black school where blacks attended, first black public school. And it would be a natural if enough money could be raised to really expand Smith Robinson. And she had that dream, you know,
I know.
Ms. Mosley. She had that dream. If it could be freestanding, free of the city, because I feel that the city feels that Smith Robinson is the stepchild, a drag on them. I have that feeling. I've been here long enough to, because they don't put the resources in here that need to be here to really make it a hallmark for the city of Jackson. They don't do that. This could be the thing in Jackson if it had the right people behind it and if it had the resources, the necessary resources to make it an endowed institution here in the city of Jackson. So those are my two thoughts. And my wife said to me that she read that you were on with the interest group, okay, that had that interest. So I thought I would, when I did interview you, I thought I would address the question and get your views on that. Those are some of my views.
Well, I think I really appreciate her coming up with this idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I had thought when we started talking about it that we could somehow add that what we're going to do to this, but they say it's not enough room to do anything like that. So I don't know how much space we
Well,
would
there's
need
a
right
lot of
now.
property that can be acquired to do it.
I was thinking we could put it all together.
Mm-hmm.
That way I thought more people would actually see what's already here
Pardon me.
and then see what we were going to get. But right now, that's not going too well. But I want to go and see what the others are doing and what they started from and how we can make ours
Right.
similar to what.
See,
to what
Jackson
they've done.
has, and I know you know it, but Jackson has a very important history as far as the civil rights movement in America is concerned. A lot of things happen in Mississippi, and I mean Mississippi has an important position in the whole history of civil rights in our country. And it should be recognized as such. And if we were to develop all of the history that has been made on this turf being Mississippi, right? It's worth a museum. It's worth a museum 10 times.
Oh, yeah, well, that's the idea.
Even
That they're,
if we just looked at the people, the Mississippi people that made important contributions in civil rights, right?
Right.
That period of history,
Right.
right? So I don't think that we have to. I don't think we have to work too hard to justify the need of a good museum here in the state of Mississippi. We don't have to. Where it should be and how it comes to be, I may not live to see, but I will make my
well, I
contribution
certainly hope you will, because I hope I'll be around by the time we develop it. And I think we're well on the way
I hope so.
to doing it. We have to get it and get our report together. I think we have to have a report ready about October as to what our plans are. I think it's October. By October, we need to have our plans, and we're working on it. We'll be well on the way. But somehow I want to make sure we don't get left out of it, the plan, because sometimes we end up doing these things and all they do, somebody else gets all the money for building the building, and then we don't actually do anything
Exactly.
about that. There was something else I was going to tell you when we talk about the history, and you mentioned the president of Jackson State. I saw a picture someplace. You remember when they had the shooting on campus
Yes.
at Jackson State?
Mm-hmm.
There's a picture someplace, not like a copy of it. There's some lady standing out on campus, and she's pointing up there, showing the police.
Yeah, I remember that picture.
You do?
Sure.
Who that was?
I don't know who it was. You asked me who the lady was? No. But I remember that picture. That was you. Was that you? Oh, geez, I can remember that picture.
I sure want. We went over there, and they were saying it had nothing been done. They couldn't see it out.
Yeah.
I said some nice words. I don't see why
right
you
up
can't
there.
see. Yeah.
Oh, I do remember.
I really would like, if you see one.
Oh,
somewhere.
you don't have a copy of it?
I don't have a copy of that.
Okay. I'll see if I can turn that up.
Hillman Frazier's there.
Gilman First.
Hillman Frazier's standing there, and I'm there, and I don't know who the other people are about.
Okay.
Another two
Let me
of us
see
are
what
there.
I can do to uncover that.
And my husband said, I told me, he said, I guess that's when you got started.
All right. Now, is there anything else you'd like to add, Ms. Clarke, about your tour of duty? And why don't you talk about what your, you've said some of what your hope is, okay, for the future. Do you want to add any more to where are we going? Where is Jackson going? Jackson's in bad shape. And I don't know how we get out of the hole that we seem to have dug for ourselves as far as this place is concerned.
We're gonna have to start working together. Our communities are gonna have to start working together, in my opinion. And somehow we're gonna have to really find out what the problems are, and not, we have to stop shooting from the hip. We're gonna do some research and find out what our problems are. We know what they are. We need to work together. We need to work with our churches, with our schools, and we need to, again, do something, vigorously do something about drugs, because that's our major problem in this. And our people, so many of them need more jobs. But,
And to lift the education system.
definitely, and all of that, if we do that, we'll definitely, the education system will increase if we do that. And I'm sure I'm gonna think of 5 or 6 things that I should have said when I leave. But that happens to mature people.
Well, of course, you can't get rid of that, that's true.
Yeah, I'll think
No,
of it.
that's all right.
As soon as I
That's-
think of it.
That's okay. All right.
But I'd just like to say what a pleasure it's been talking to you.
Oh, well, hey,
It's always-
that
it's
works
always
both
good.
ways. I have enjoyed it immensely.
I remember you from Greenville.
Do you really?
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yes.
That's a long time, Miss Lyon. I spent 35
No,
years in the Gulf.
it's a long time for you, see, it's not a long time. It's just the other day.
I spent 35 years in the Gulf. That's all. One of the first places I hit when I came to Mississippi was Bolivar County with Angie Moore. That's the first place. But nevertheless, I've enjoyed this here interview. Somehow in my mind, there are some other questions that I had for you that don't readily come to mind. I know, I wanted to say, I just wanted you to say, right? Some kind of way, maybe differently from how I would say it. We live in a state that has more black people proportionally than any state in the United States. That's important. And we have more black elected officials in the
Than
state
any other state.
Okay.
And hopefully we're making a difference. We have more, and hopefully we're making a difference. And I really think, despite what happens, all of the other things, I think we are really making a difference. We're making a difference. When you look at some of the bills we've gotten passed, and as a result of that, things accomplished, we are making a difference. We don't always work together as we should,
No.
because with the numbers we have,
Yes.
we can't really pass anything, but we can
But-
stop things. We
Yes.
got enough to stop it. And that's if we work together. We don't always do that.
True.
But hopefully, we're gonna do better than we've done.
All right. One closing question to you. The legislature has a responsibility as far as leadership is concerned here in this state. I've always felt, okay, that it fails miserably in 2 ways. In terms of how it serves to educate its populace, its constituency, on what is going on, right? And how it fails miserably in elevating everybody's eyesight and understanding a vision. The legislature does not, to my understanding, give the people a vision in terms of what they think Mississippi ought to look like 10 or 15 years from now.
I think
You
maybe
don't have to respond to that.
maybe we haven't
Pardon me now.
made it known well enough, or we haven't invited enough people. But we do try very hard to let our constituents know what's going on. But when we have the sessions,
Yes,
they are not well attended.
when you have
We
the session.
Yeah,
What
when we
is
have
the
the sessions where we invite
public?
We invite the public to come out and find out what we've done.
Yes.
And to find out what they'd like us to do.
Yes.
That's what I do is that in my group, my area,
Uh-huh.
I try to make sure they know what happened in the session that passed, and then I try to find out from them what they'd like us to do in the upcoming session. Now, I have failed, because at one time, I was sending out a newsletter that had everything in it. And then on that, I would ask them to please, I'd have a little thing, you could just cut this off and send us back what you'd like to see us do in the next year. The last 2 years, I haven't done it. So I do need to, along with some others, need to let our constituents know what it is and let them know how they can go about making the requests, because some of them don't know how to let us know that they want this passed. And if you don't let me know that you'd like to see something done about this,
Yeah.
I might not know.
Is the Black Caucus at all active anymore?
Yes,
They are.
yes.
Who they communicate with?
Well,
Do they tell the populace
that's,
from a black perspective what's going on in the legislature as a whole?
we're trying. And Saturday
Saturday.
at Tougaloo, we're gonna have some things going on.
Okay.
At 10 o'clock, the Black Caucus will be meeting with some individuals, let them know what's going on and try to find out what we need to do in the upcoming session.
This coming Saturday.
This one said,
What time?
10 o'clock,
10 o'clock in the morning.
in the morning,
10 a.m. Saturday.
10 a.m. said.
You must make a note of that. All right. 10 a.m.
I was gonna look in my phone and see if that's right, but
We can do it after.
if I find out that's not the right time, I'll call you.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Clarke.
Oh, I thank you. Thank you so
You've
very
been
much.
wonderful. You didn't give me no telephone.